But one thing is clear, there's no stopping it.
It went so well last week, we're going to do it again this week. The Canadian Premier League Matchweek 2 is in the books. The first away side with a victory this season as Forge demolish York United to a 3-0 final. Welcome back inside our One Soccer studio. This is
Match Night.
Right here on One Soccer. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack with you. Coming up this week, Best and Worst makes a return. We have some managerial updates pertaining to the Canadian men's national team. We'll look ahead to the TELUS Canadian Championship, which starts this week.
Come on.
But first, the Canadian Premier League. A weekend of 4 more games and really good games as well. Vancouver and Pacific both move to 2 wins from 2 games on the season. Forge does it as well in the late game on Sunday. And yesterday, the first draw of the season as well, as Atletico Ottawa and Cavalry play to a 1-1 final. Here's the updated table. Vancouver, based upon goals scored, they're atop the Canadian Premier League table. We're early. We're very early. Forge, they look great, don't they? Back-to-back wins, go to York Lions Stadium and just completely outplay York United. 3 teams, York, Halifax, Valor, without a point yet this CPL season. And let's start off at York Lions Stadium. York 0, Forge 3. It was the first home game for the new owners of York United, the Pascal brothers. Ricardo specifically said in their introductory press conference that he thought that they had the best roster in the Canadian Premier League. And by they, I'm talking about his side, York United. Perhaps that gap between Forge and York is a little bit bigger than the Pascal brothers imagined. What did we learn? What did we see here today, KJ, in terms of the performances? Because it seemed like Forge were on a completely other level.
Yeah, that in the Canadian Premier League is a beatdown. And there's no other way to describe it for me. You know, in a league of salary cap league, the way that they played them, I think they could have beaten by more. They absolutely annihilated them. And, you know, Martin Nash will be able to say there's clearly players on that team that are more accomplished and more experienced to play together longer. And I know that York will need the time. But the manner in which it looked like, for me, York gave up in that second half, I think is a bit concerning and alarming early on in the season. We'll find out what happened to why Brem Samaro didn't hit the pitch, one of their best players. But let's focus on the positives, the pace of the way that Forge played, the spacing, the combinations down that left-hand side. Borges was marvellous. I know Schwanyel got performance of the match. Borges would have got my vote.
Yeah, me too.
And for me, every credit. There wasn't a bad player in orange, but there were many in white.
Look, Forge, when they're scoring, you even saw in the last goal there, KJ and Wheels, they're taking their time. They're not rushing. They said, we'll be here. Then you get Borges hustling for the 3rd goal. Obviously, now Hingers will walk that back, but all over on the pitch, they're there. You saw Orange working. There's more than just talent within this Forge side. There's chemistry. I know this is week 2, but the gap is large, Wheels. And the last 4 times that Forge went to York Lions Stadium, the score is 10-0 now with goals for Forge. They're a class team, and they seem to get the better of York.
First clean sheet for Kalongo. Congratulations to the young man. Looks assured. Parra, the left back, looks excellent. Yeah. Borges and Schwanier combined had 4 goals last season. They have 3. Borges with 2 assists here today. Look out. Like, if these 2 players are rolling, they're obviously tried, tested, and true in the Canadian Premier League. Scary proposition for other sides in the Canadian Premier League.
Competition for places, too.
No, that's it.
Key, right? You know, you bring in Betty Badibanga, you got Nana coming pretty soon. We've seen what people can do. All of a sudden, Schwanier and Borges didn't start the CPL final. Yeah. Schwanier sat and watched his team and watched his place be taken last year through injuries a lot. That's the key to success as well, that it's not a definite starter, and they've stepped up here.
This is the problem that Bobby Smirnionis wanted. Last year, he's looking at his bench, who's going to step up, especially in the attacking front 3, front 4. Now you're looking at this team, Almasise coming back, you're like, who's going to start for me and who's coming off the bench? But this is a strong side.
Matusa doesn't play yet. They lose James, Rama, Woobins, and you're like, okay. No. They are absolutely fine. What about York United? That was the strange one today that arguably York United's best player, Brem Samaro, the midfielder, doesn't see the field in a game like this. And a team that's dealing with a bunch of early season injuries and Stirring and Cordova, look, they're nowhere near fully fit, but Samaro not playing is a strange one for me.
There has to be something there, because for me, this is a game that is built for a defensive midfielder, someone to break up play in Brem Samaro. If he's fit enough to be on the game sheet, then he should be playing. Yeah. And I know for playing that position, this is something where they lack leadership today. This is no slate on Elijah Adekubo, but I just feel as if that is a lot of midfield and bodies to keep a hold of for one man. You need a Brem Samaro in there, and then in the 50th minute, love seeing a youth sports player like Christian Zepieri come off the bench. But I'm thinking at least, how is your best player who breaks up play for your squad not in the lineup today, KJ?
Yeah, look, we get the pleasure and privilege of covering these games, but I always describe it this way, right? As jurors, we can only be presented with the evidence that they're given us, right? But that's 90 minutes every week, okay? Martin Nash used words in his Friday press conference like chemistry, discipline, mentality. He used those words in an open press conference. It wasn't behind closed doors. It was an on-the-record discussion. And so, for me, they are the next steps. We can all talk about what Pascal Brothers would want to create at York, and we hope they get there. What we're seeing with the team in Hamilton and Forge, and what we've seen in Calgary with Calvary over the last few years, is that it takes time to build something, but it's all about the rest of the time, not when you're playing on the field. That is the way that you build a proper legacy and a team full of giants at that level.
Playing under Martin Nash, I know that for times as a player, I was asking him to maybe make a statement, like control a locker room. If this is one of those times where you have one of the players that you sat, then I would rather you do it early on in the year. But you're looking at the leaders, the Ricci's, the Babulis, the Brem Samaros. They need to be their best selves every week for York to have a chance to really make a push this season.
Elsewhere, earlier this week, it was a Friday night fixture, Pacific 2 and Valor 0. We all know that Valor, they've really turned over their entire squad. This is really going to take some time for it to come together. And they played very well over the first 45 minutes against Pacific, forcing a triple change courtesy of Pacific manager James Merriman. 3 players came onto the field. I think you guys are going to crown this the goal of the week, courtesy of John Hurd. Josh Hurd right after the intermission. How did this goal play out? KJ, walk us through it. And Pacific went on from there to win the game 2-0.
Yeah, look, Valor deserve a lot of credit, and I know they're bottom of the league and they've lost 2 games out west, but the way that they tried to play football in this game, no one will talk about it, so I will briefly, just to give them a little bit of love. But look, James Merriman made 3 significant changes at halftime, and we need to highlight it. You can see the time right there. Look at the time right there, right away. This is right beginning of the second half, and this is Valor on the front foot attacking Emil Gazdov in the net. Now, we play this through. I want to focus on a couple of plays in particular, and the hunt and the drive that Stephen Yates has there, number 7. And as we pause it, when Yates gets pressured at this moment, this is a crucial moment in the game. Valor were on the front foot and Pacific were on the back foot. At this moment, remember, this is the time up here. This is crucial. You're 1 minute 39 seconds into what James Merriman has just laid the law into. He wouldn't tell the media afterwards what he said. That's how angry he was.
Love it.
Right? So then we're going to talk about Cedric Toussaint, one of the best defensive midfielders, and I know one of your former partners, Jordan, who came on at halftime. And watch what Toussaint does here as we play through. Yates under pressure, plays it out to the very calm, Makumbala. And then Toussaint breaks the line here. And as we get through there, we're going to pause it again. Now, at this point, look at Valor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Aggression. That's the way that they played. But now, Cedric Toussaint has broke that line, and he does a great job, Jordan. We're going to keep it on pause at this moment to keep going.
KJ, just highlight for me quickly the 3 midfielders for Pacific.
Just pause it for a second.
Right? As we're looking at it. You got Toussaint here, you got Young, and you got Yates that went off the pitch real quickly. Yeah. If I had to dissect this, and Wheels, you would say for these central midfielders, I just want to pause it before you play it. Yeah. You would say that these guys aren't supposed to be in that position. But they are so good on the ball, Pacific, when they play. Everyone's comfortable to break and play forward, and they do that right there perfectly. This is a textbook goal. That's why it's the goal of the week.
It's a goal of the week because the way that they execute it, but the time, I'll keep going back to it. You just got outplayed at home in the second game by the team that you expected to beat. Last year, they played well at home in the first game. They won. The second game, they made a mistake. They drew that game. They could not do that. Pacific know they have to get the points on the board early, and that was a crucial moment. Every credit for Merriman to make the triple sub.
There are managerial moments where you look at things and you give yourself a pat on the back. If you sub in a Dada Luke, Josh Hurd, and a Cedric Toussaint, and Cedric Toussaint is in a part of the goal, and Josh Hurd scores it, James Merriman said, okay.
By the way, back-to-back weeks, Hurd and Toussaint come off the bench. you need to swallow your pride. They came out there, got the job done. Sean Young scored the other goal for Pacific in his 100th game for the club, already at such a young age. So congratulations to Sean and Pacific on the victory. The Saturday fixture, it finished 1-1 in our nation's capital, Atletico Ottawa in Calgary. The game was a weird one. Didic scored in the 47th minute, and then it was an own goal. Chris Twarduk, it was unfortunate. Leighton Brooks was right there on it in the 90th minute. But the game kind of went from one where I was looking at it saying, how didn't Ottawa win this game? But in the end, I was kind of asking myself, how didn't they lose this game? It felt like they lost their way in the middle of it, Jordan.
I think for me, watching it, Wheels, and we've covered this league last season, just looking at Atletico Ottawa play, and I feel like they're just still trying to find their identity. Before, you'd see them score and they retreat and they're really robust and they park the bus and they say, you're going to break us down. Now you feel like, are you going to go and chase and get a second goal, KJ? Are we going to go and protect what we have for the first one? I still think they're going to figure this out, but I also think this is going to be something that they're trying to figure out throughout the season. Yeah. Because the clientele and the players that they have, it's not so, oh, let's just retreat and protect what we have. Sometimes they're going to have to go and finish off teams. So you can see with Carlos Gonzalez that they're still just trying to figure out who they really are once they go up.
Yeah, look, progress can be fueled by adversity, right? So now we've seen it, right? Now he can go to his team and say, we're up 1-0, you cannot play that deep again. Now, I'm sorry, but until I see it, I'm not going to believe it, because that's what they've consistently been in 2 years plus 2 games now. So they need to show all of us, back to my Jura comment about the evidence, what are they? Because they take a goal from a set piece. By the way, that's the 5th game already out of 8 where goals have come from corners. They score a goal from a set piece, and then they got so deep, they were lucky to get a point. That's not a team. That's not a super team. That's not a contending team. That's not what you... Forge didn't do that today. Forge were up 1-0, and they just went for the jugular and destroyed a team. That's what our expectations of Ottawa should be. Now, I get it. It's early. Forge have had players together. Their chemistry's there. Okay, we're not going to hold you to that standard yet. But, if you win the off-season and you win all the headlines, I think Atletico Ottawa fans were every right to leave that stadium yesterday disappointed. Cavalry deserved the point for me, at least. I thought they played well. But for me, the story was that Atletico Ottawa couldn't hold the lead.
Right now, it's still about the process. Tablet coming off early. Yes, Canadian Championship is upcoming. But still, there are questions still going to be asked about how this team is performing in the early stages of the season. The buzz team in the Canadian Premier League. Fly, Eagles, fly. Different teams, same mascot. Vancouver off to a flying start. We'll dig deep into what they've shown us thus far. This is Match Night on One Soccer.
Power doesn't sound like it used to. The all-electric ID4 with instant acceleration. Electric feels good. Volkswagen.
Do we really have any choice at all?
Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
How do you go from the best to the ultimate without breaking the bank? You choose the big, bold, ultimate taste of ultimate chicken sausages and hot dogs. Choose ultimate taste and value, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
Would you like the extended warranty for $150?
Go ad-free for $29.99.
Only 3 easy payments of $49.99 if you act now.
We make thousands of financial decisions every day. Each one affects bigger decisions tomorrow. Stay on top of it all with the CIBC Smart Account.
In towards the 6 once again, met by a Wanderers head first Nimick, I believe, and then Gunnar Laparet tries to head that back to Fillion and pound bouncing on the loose ball is Rocco Romeo. Dyer forces a mistake from Nimick. It's Dyer. He takes an extra touch. Dyer still has a shot on the post. Diaz on the rebound. It's 2-0 for VFC.
Some of this. The Eagle. The kits look great. The play on the field even better. Thursday night football here on One Soccer. It was great. I love this Thursday night fixture. It was Vancouver 2, Halifax 0. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack with you. Vancouver 2 wins through 2 games. Jordan and I aren't going to say we told you so,
Wheels
but
is the first one. You're the originator. I will say that.
Just
told us what,
we
guys?
told you so.
What did you tell us?
This is a buzz team, and they're the headline. They are the big story right here on Match Night this week. You know why? They're all talk, and they're backing it up so far. The manager was confident. Ashton Goppy called them a title contender in the Canadian Premier League, and he gave a great line in the presser this week. And his defender, Rocco Romero, who opened the scoring in this one, echoed those very same sentiments.
Yeah, it's a dream start, honestly. You know, two home games, back-to-back wins. You know, I'm very happy and very proud of the team and the boys. You know, I think management in the offseason did what they had to do to make those steps forward and make this a team that, you know, wants to achieve these ambitions. You know, words only go so far, and I think you know, we're backing up the action now, showing that, you know, the Eagles have landed, and we want to make a big push, not only in the league, but also in the Canadian Championship coming up. So, but the mentality has always just been take one game at a time. And in this league, you know, you don't know what's going to happen on the day. But, you know, we have a very mature group of guys, and everyone's committed, which is the most important thing. So, very, very happy for the boys.
The Eagles have landed. Shades of Neil Armstrong, because they're out of this world to start the season. Ayo. Look, we've heard these cliches before, whether it be the brotherhood, all for one in football in this country. And now the Eagles have landed. Have they arrived? That is the big question, whether this is sustainable. KJ, what do you make of their start, and have they caught your eye?
Yeah, I think they've caught everybody's eye across the Canadian Premier League. Look, I think what we've made about their start is the fact that they're going to be very dangerous going forward. You know, there's a lot to like about their attack, which we're going to get into in a second. The thing for me that caught my eye, though, was the last second of the game. They had a chance to concede a goal, and there was a block. Garcia was involved with it, and Callum Irvin was involved with it, and they celebrated like a goal. And that brought for me the togetherness right now of both boxes. Look, they're always going to be a threat with Dyer and Diaz playing up front as a 2. They have a huge game on Tuesday. Because it's not only a Canadian Championship game against Cavalry, but the outcome of that means the winner will play Vancouver Whitecaps. So if that doesn't get you excited, nothing will for that market. So no, I'm delighted they've got some of the best kits in the Canadian Premier League, and right now top of the table.
There's something to say about chemistry, right? And Wheels, we always talk about balance within a team with the young players, but with established vets. I like this Vancouver side. Now, I just want to clarify for weeks to come and at the end of the season that I said this is a playoff team. Finishing maybe 4th, finishing 3rd. I haven't said they're going to go and win the Canadian Premier League Shield by 13 points or anything like that.
Backtracking already.
Right? Not backtracking, just stating the fact that I like this team on paper. And this is a great start.
I think you're disconnecting from Wheeler here.
That's fine.
You are.
Me and Wheels is big brother, I'm little brother.
No, I feel like you're disassociating from him.
I think this team is really good.
It's okay.
They've shown.
That's okay. The squad is much deeper. They took their lumps at times in their expansion season. They learned from it. There's some really good established players in this team. What I really like about this team, Jordan, the formation that they're playing. I'm a big 4-4-2 guy. I'm old school, as the kids would say, but I love 2 up top. Never mind the system, the shape behind the 2 strikers, but playing Dyer and Diaz up top. I think that could be a recipe for success.
Absolutely, and we'll go through some clips when you talk about the 4-4-2 because they're so dynamic, these 2 players, when they get going.
Dynamic duo, double D.
Come on now.
We got the double B's.
And when you look at this was just last week against Valor.
Forge.
But when they start playing, when they start connecting, as we roll through here, see Ben Fisk. I just want to see right here when we pause it, we're going to get, look, this man right here, Wero Diaz. Dangerous guy. This time he went forward and got the ball in that pocket. No one can catch him right here, right? As he turns and he's looking to play forward, you just want to watch Moses Dyer, his partner up top, right? As soon as he gets in, he turns as we play it. Hansopoulos, watch it, pause. Look at that body position, KJ.
Yeah.
Right? His hips square. He's a dead man. Avocado toast. Whatever you want to say. As a defender.
Delicious, by the way.
Delicious, but you're cooked. Finish, a snack. It's going on a sprint right here with Moses Dyer, and Hansopoulos is facing the wrong way. So he's already lost. Diaz recognizes that, and he says, this is my time. As we play it through, no one can catch him. Yes, he doesn't score off of this, but it is that movement, that split second that he knows Dyer, he's going to get the ball.
It was a glimpse of what was to come.
For sure, right? And now we see this, KJ, this right here, third man run. Got Dyer, got their little partner in crime, Bitar, and this man right here, Guero Diaz. Most players would come here, Wheels, right, and get the ball at the top. Not Guero Diaz. He recognizes there's a huge gap in Valle's defense, and as we play it through, he exploits it, knowing that he's not going to score, but that his team will in this moment. Plays Moses Dyer, bang, 1-0. This is that chemistry and that connection that, yes, they're new and they're finding that partnership, but they understand football, they understand movement and what it takes to go forward. Right here, Vancouver, poor pass by PSG, but look, I want to highlight again that front two that you like, Wheels. Two guys ready to go, ready to press. This right here is probably like a 5-yard. Yeah. Most players jog and put a little press and say, hey, coach, I'm doing my job. Not Moses Dyer. He's ready, anticipating.
And watch Diaz, too. He anticipates as well.
Diaz on the top of the screen right here knows as well, hey, I'm going to get going if my boy does.
He's about to go from gear 1 to top gear in a second.
Full zoom.
Watch this.
We play it through. Look at him, making up that ground. Boom. And right here for Guero Diaz, some will say this is luck, but I believe this is what you get from always moving and always being in a position for your teammates. You get those chances.
He finds the right space.
That is what it is. This one is my favorite right here because it's just a nothing situation. Gets cleared, but watch Moses Dyer right here. Look at all this ground he has to make up. Look at that. And he goes and says, this is my time. Look at, there are 4 Halifax players back, ready. And he says, no, I'm going to make that space. And as soon as it gets played forward, Bitar does well here, though, to skip by one.
What a player.
Skip by Rampy. Boom, look at this. One thing on his mind, get forward. And yes, he doesn't score this. There's another shot on target. But how quickly they break Wheels. That 4-4-2, they are dynamic. Want to see them tested against better competition. But they've had a great start to the season.
And those kits. Chef's kiss, both of them. You say better competition. Uh-oh, Jordan. Halifax Wanderers in the wheels up, wheels down, heading into the season power rankings, I only had them 6th. And why did I say that? They need to prove that they're not a one-hit wonder. Consistency is what is key here. That's what separates good teams from great teams. And I heard some very similar comments coming from their manager, Patrice Geiser, after this one, in regards to one of their star players with the Wanderers, in Dan Nimick.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Dan against Pacific was fantastic. Like, I don't think he set a wrong step. Can't say the same tonight. You know, I think Dan has a lot of different things that's going on around him. Dan has high aspirations, but Dan's biggest challenge to go to the next level will be consistency, right? Against Pacific, he completed 70, 80 passes. Tonight, he had the most passes on the field as a defender. As I said, he did 12 kilometers, so he's done a lot of good, but the problem is, we all say, is Dan one of the top 2 defenders or top defender in this league? And if he has to perform better than that tonight. And I believe in him, and I think that, you know, sometimes expectations for a young man will get the worst out of you and sometimes the best out of you. And I'm very confident that Dan will be fantastic next Saturday against Ottawa, and we look forward to that game. That's all we can do, look forward.
Interesting comments, especially coming after game number 2. What do you make of that, KJ?
Yeah, and Patrice Geiser is a very smart individual.
Yes.
So that's not an emotional comment that he's going to regret the moment he said it. I think he knows exactly what he's saying. So what do I make out of it? I think, for me, that we're still in an era, even though we're analysing a lot here, that this country, when it comes to looking after football and reflecting on it, are still very young. And I think Patrice Geiser looks at that performance from Dan Nimick and thinks, externally, he's not going to hear enough criticism. So I have to be the one who has to do it. It feels weird to have a manager do that for him. But he said there, by the way, that he's got a lot of things going on right now. I think we all know what that is. Dan Nimick was, you know, he was an award nominee last year, arguably one of the best defenders in the Canadian Premier League. I'm sure there's agents being talked about. There's lots of clubs going, what next level? And that's a manager just trying to keep his toes down on the ground again. bringing back down to earth and thinking, he didn't play well enough tonight, and if no one's going to tell him that, if we're not going to talk about it in the studio, I'm going to have to be the one who has to send that message. And privately, I'm sure he's saying it as well. But you know as a player that if a manager says it to you privately, but then goes out and says it in a press conference, that's very, very different.
Tough love. And I think when you're looking at dynamic play, that's something that he thrives on. I don't want a coach coming to me and telling me, hey, you had a great game, and then when I'm poor, not say nothing. Challenge me. Dynamic wants to play. He wants to be a star in this league. Yeah. I think that he's already up in conversation, but he wants to be an outright great. Challenge him. He should be the best player on the pitch at all times. Patrice Geyser, he's running a team where he has talented players, but no player is greater than the last game.
Totally.
So going and challenging, I love that clip. And what I want to see from Dan Nimmick going into next week and weeks after is taking that chip on the shoulder. If you're going into a tackle, going in with all that you have. If you're playing a pass, making sure it's the best pass possible. Because if you can get your best player working the hardest, the 18th man on the squad is going to be grinded.
He'll be fine, by the way, Dan Nimmick. He's a tough Yorkshire lad.
But it's about it's about standards, and they've been raised in this era where people turn to or defer to using kid gloves, including in this sport. I have no problem with a little bit of honesty. That's what makes you better. Difficult week for Halifax. Look, long season to go. Stayed on the West Coast. Like, that was a tough week for them.
They'll be fine.
So get back home to the East Coast and let's get cooking. One Soccer Today, Mondays and Thursdays. Tomorrow's show will recap the weekend that was across Canadian football. You can watch right here on One Soccer. We'll probably be addressing some of these things as well. It's the best and worst of the week, and it's coming up next here on Match Night.
Hey. Let's go somewhere beachy. I don't like sand.
What? What about Cancun sand?
It's so soft.
Or maybe Caribbean white sand. Sure. Ooh, Costa Rican sand. It's got
dolphins.
Costa Rica, then?
Yeah, Costa Rica.
Good choice.
It was all him.
With over 50 sunny destinations to choose from, we have a flight for that.
Power doesn't sound like it used to. The all-electric ID4 with instant acceleration. Electric feels good.
Volkswagen.
Tony Bet. At Tony Bet, get treated like a VIP. Bet on live games with odds on all sorts of sports. That's what you get when you bet with Tony Bet.
Welcome back to Match Night. Wheeler, Wilson, KJ with you. This was a hit segment last week, by the way. I'm going to do this every week. It's called Best and Worst, but we're working on another title, potentially, or I. Celebrating the one, the only, Alistair Johnston.
He's back. Johnston's back in our segment.
He's a headliner on Best or Worst, and this is definitely fitting the best category.
Best, for sure.
Unlike the questionable I. Yeah. Celtic Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup. Hoylett versus Alistair Johnston. Great game, KJ.
What a game this was in the oldest cup competition there is in the sport. And Hoylett with a marvellous delivery there on his left foot.
It's permanent.
And it went back and forth. By the way, Aberdeen scored in the first few seconds of the game. Then Alistair Johnston heavily involved. Here's the right back, runs inside. Crosses, gets an assist. Celtic think they've won. Everyone goes crazy. But as we've seen in what has been a remarkable week in cup competitions across Europe, Shout out Emi Martinez. Look at this for a delivery here by the aforementioned Hoylett against Johnston. Look at this as it comes across to get another one in there and take it to pens, where they both take pens and score them as well.
What a peach of a pass right there. Delivery. You know he was cutting in on that right foot, but that is quality from Hoylett.
Great to see Junior delivering in red again.
What other cup competitions are you speaking? I remember Madrid beating City. That was a good one. Nothing happened on Sunday that we want to address at all. As United supporter, let's
Every credit
move
to
on.
Coventry City.
You made it, man. You made it.
So that's an I. We want to give out a best to this Atletico Ottawa supporter as well, wishing and willing a goal for his side.
Hey, keeper, this is going right in the net! Right in the net!
Those are some high-quality microphones. Hey, it's going to get in the net, and it went in the net.
It wasn't even that's some great analysis right there.
This fan is prophetic. I don't want them to waste their talent. Really feel the moment at games when you feel like, oh, this is going to be a goal.
No, he said something again in the second half. It didn't work.
Yeah,
Sorry.
don't say it all the time.
Sorry, that was his best, but there was a worst.
We can choose your
Well, the
moment.
best, he might make his way into this studio as well at some point. New rules in Major League Soccer that were applied this weekend. Did you guys see this? One of them is the fact that now officials are going to communicate VAR decisions in stadium. Have a listen from the Seattle Whitecaps game on the weekend.
After review, number 25 Green committed a serious foul play offense. The final decision is red card.
Wow.
There you see the wave off of the yellow, and after a VAR decision, a red card here late in the first half to Jackson Reagan.
Now, I love this. I know it seems very NFL and traditionalists might not approve, but at least they're communicating to the people in the stadium. Like, oftentimes they look around, what happened? But this provides a little bit of transparency that I think is much needed. I've been calling this for this for a long time.
I agree with you, Wheels. I just think back to my playing career on almost getting a dozen red cards and sent off and having everyone know. And having a Jordan Wilson, number 4, York United, red card. I think it's needed, but it just hurts. It hurts for a player to do.
I absolutely love it. I'm sorry, traditionalists, but the doors were open and everyone's bolted out for a long time. We saw a team lose an FA Cup semi-final today because of an inch based on VAR. There's a lot of things that traditionalists are not happy with. So, no, look, it's about education. You know, I know MLS is doing well with attendance in the crowd, but what are those people learning? What are they remembering? There's a lot of people right now who are struggling to remember who's playing for the other team. It's about education. At least now we're hearing from the referee about education and informative, making the fans aware of why the player was dismissed.
It was so weird. In the TFC New England game, Andrew Farrell went down in stoppage time. They're down a goal. And when a member of the medical staff comes on the field, then that player needs to go off for 2 minutes. 2 minutes of stoppage time. They're chasing the game. Can't get back on the field. I might file away that is the worst. They're trying to stop delays in the game. No. But that seems silly to me, especially in that context.
I agree with you. Look, there's a reason why the referee goes like this and stops his clock. You get the clock back anyway. So I don't really understand. I don't like that one at all.
A special shout out to Theo Bear.
Come on.
He's made the PFA Scotland Team of the Year, voted on by the players. He scored 13 and 33 this season out of nowhere for Motherwell. Last season, 1 in 25 for St. Johnstone. I don't think anyone could have predicted this to come. A player with pedigree, certainly in terms of him growing up, but how quickly it's happened for him, very impressive.
Can't wait to see him play and then put on that red and white, because that player may be coming off the bench. Dynamite for Canada.
I saw him in Frisco. I've covered him for a long time. I remember in the Whitecaps when he was a boy. He looked a different figure for me physically, and his confidence as well. He's soaring right now. Great to see.
You know, with Hoylett 6 around there next year, Johnston, Bear, we can maybe have 3 Canadians in the Scotland Team of the Year. Well done, KJ. Well done. The latest on Alphonso Davies, a big Champions League semifinal tie against his potential future side, and a managerial update. All of that coming up in Oh Canada, Oh Baby, here on Match Night.
We created Carlsberg 0-0 because even the best things can be better with alcohol-free beer. Clean one-handed backhand is better. Balancing stuff is better. Whatever this is, it's better. We created Carlsberg. Skipping your own ad is better. Parking in space, better. So, can the best alcohol-free beer make good things better? Probably.
How do you go from the best to the ultimate without breaking the bank? You choose the big, bold, ultimate taste of ultimate chicken sausages and hot dogs. Choose ultimate taste and value, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
Would you like the extended warranty for $150?
Go ad-free for $29.99.
Only 3 easy payments of $49.99 if you act now.
We make thousands of financial decisions every day. Each one affects bigger decisions tomorrow. Stay on top of it all with the CIBC Smart Account.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
Degree, 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree, keeps working when others stop.
Cannon forward. David plays it down the line. Look how that ball staying in, and Davies is on it. Davies takes it away. 2v1. Davies has Buchanan. Alphonso Davies keeps it himself. Goal! Alphonso Davies. Are you kidding me? An individual piece of brilliance.
Alphonso Davies, pretty good. He is a big Champions League tie, semi-final tie, staring him down, a team that he may be joining, he will be facing in the next stage of that competition. More on that in a moment. Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson, Christian Jack with you. This is our O Canada, Oh Baby segment presented by CIBC. Christian Jack has been all over Canada's search for a new men's national team manager. What's the latest? Where do things stand, KJ?
Yeah, things are heating up in that manner. I'm hearing that it's getting closer to in-person interviews. You know, maybe even within the next week or so, with a number of international managers that have been vetted. Canada Soccer have been leaning on some significant ex-professionals to be involved in some of these meetings to get some advice from them as well. Obviously, give some intel in terms of their own opinions on some of these managers. And now I'm hearing at least 4 international managers of all 4 different nationalities, not Canadian at this point, will be getting individual meetings within the next few days.
Interesting. You mentioned the international connections or potential flavor that the Canada may go in terms of the direction of their next manager. We also know that there's Canadians in the picture as well. How much should nationality matter, Jordan, especially if that nationality happens to be the big bad rival to the south? Would Canadians be adverse to having an American manager oversee the program?
I don't think they should be. I think whoever comes in needs to be a person that is up for the job. And I know it sounds like cheesy or there's this, but what I mean by that is someone who's going to come in this locker room and say to these players, look, I want to take all of your game to the next level. I want to take this country that is hosting a World Cup, that has a passion for Canada, for soccer, and take them to another level. I don't care that you're American. Personally, for me, I don't think that Canadians should care about that either. I just think it's about the personality and the person that's coming in and the character that they have to take this team where it should go.
I may be the wrong person to ask who picked this country to live in, but and obviously spent a lot of time in the United States. I love it there. So I know how some Canadians can get wound up about having United States people in charge. I don't know whether it would work in hockey, for example. I can never see that happen. But we have to admit that there are significant United States gaffers now that have made a big difference in the world of football. And if we can attract some of those names, I am hearing that at least one of these international managers who will be getting an interview this week is from the US. There are some US managers out there that have made significant differences within Canadian football as well. So think about that for a second as well. I'm with Jordan. I don't think any nationality of any international football manager should be a difference maker. I think there are crucial times at certain moments when you need, and I don't think this is one, when you need, depending on whether you're England or Morocco or wherever you are, maybe to be galvanized by someone of your own, maybe, at moments like that. There's certainly a feeling that. I lived it with Sven-Goran Eriksson time and, you know, back to Capello with England and people saying we now need to get English. I don't think this is now a moment where we should discard Canadians, but I certainly don't think we're at that moment where we should say no to a United States manager.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just best candidate available.
100%.
Like, it's simple as that for me. But oftentimes in this country, I think that we are harder or more divisive on the Canadian candidate. And I don't think that works that way in most footballing nations.
My opinion on that, Gareth, is, again, as someone who's got a Canadian passport and loves this country, I think we don't do a very good job of that in any sport in this country.
No.
You know, people here will celebrate the Toronto Maple Leafs more than they'll celebrate someone like Sidney Crosby, who's arguably one of the greatest hockey players to ever play the game, because he's Canadian and plays in Pittsburgh. You know, Connor McDavid gets more love because Nathan McKinnon plays in Colorado and Connor McDavid plays in Canada. So I just don't think as a nation we do a great job of celebrating Jack Villeneuve when he won an F1 world title, or what Lance Stroll does, or what, you know. So I think that is a sporting culture problem that I do think isn't just in football. But I'm with you. We do not celebrate Canadian success and people within Canadian here as much as I think we should.
So this is good news. Interviews are about to take place as the timeline starts to get expedited a little bit as we head into the summer months. And, of course, Copa America. Let's talk some of the Canadian players who are very much the focal point, the faces of the Canadian men's national team project. Let's call them Davies and David. Alphonso Davies didn't play in the Champions League midweek, but his Bayern Munich side, you hate to see it, Jordan, get past Arsenal. They have a date with Real Madrid in the semi-final coming up. Of course, Davies has been linked to a summer move to Real Madrid. How big could this semi-final fixture potentially be between these two sides?
I mean, it's huge because it's the semi-finals. That's the obvious. Let's get that out of the way. But then, obviously, this is not an everyday thing. A club like Bayern Munich that are perennial contenders that win. And then you're basically linked to a team like Real Madrid that anyone would want to play for. And that if you're Alphonso Davies, probably wants to play for as well. He needs to go and be not even the best player on the pitch, just the best version of himself. I see him sometimes as well. So much talent, so much quality, and he brings it every time that he plays. But this is just a time where you want to just be your best self and be in that game. And I think if he can do that and really relish the moment, I'm thinking back to when they won and they played Barca and just how he looked in that final. He just needs to be that Alphonso Davies. If he can do that, the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, look, again, for me, you're in the shop window. A lot of these things may be already done behind closed doors, but if there's a decision to be made, you want to go out there and show your future employees what you're made of. No, but I think it's not just athletic or technical quality, it's up here. You know, I just have incredible admiration for that club of Real Madrid. You know, they are the greatest football club in the world for a reason, and it's not just down to talent. And if we can get arguably our finest and most talented player in this country to go play for them, imagine what that can do for this Canadian soccer program. He's not a surefire starter for that team, by the way, but what he's going to learn, again, away from the field, we see players out there like Lucas Vazquez and Nacho, and these players like Camavinga. Every time you go, what Fede Valverde did on the midweek playing out wide, everybody who goes there becomes a better player, not just because it's Carlo Ancelotti and he's arguably one of the most cerebral and calm managers in the world, but because of what that jersey represents, that shirt represents. Yeah. They're the mentality monsters of world football for a reason. And I just have so much admiration for Modric and Kroos. This is why we are in the ability of loving sport, because you see what the difference is between very good and great. That's what they have. And that's Davies now. Davies is a very good footballer. To be great, he can go there and put on that shirt, and the expectations expectations that come with it, we should be really, really excited.
I mean, Real Madrid were second best. They weren't the better team on the field against Manchester City, but they're pragmatic, star players finding a way. By the way, the player that played his position, Mendy, was great in that game. So I think it's more about experiencing the greatness of Real Madrid and what makes them so special in these two legs. Davies has that in Bayern Munich, but I think you're right, KJ. Another level when it comes to Real Madrid. Davies was suspended this week. Be very much available for those Madrid fixtures. As for Jonathan David, this always happens. His name will pop up in the English media if and when he plays an English team. They played KJ's Aston Villa. Lille got knocked out in penalties. David did convert his penalty in that fixture. But then there again, Jonathan David in the shop window. Does it matter, a fixture or game like that, KJ, in showing to, I guess, the English language media just how good Jonathan David is?
I would hope not, but I think it does. I hope that makes sense as an answer. Yeah. I think it shouldn't, but it does. And when I speak to people all over the world, fans in England, agents, different people within the game, they talk about it because, oh, let's see what he can do against Premier League opposition. They just hold that league to such a high standard that I have to explain to some people why I think he's better than Brennan Johnson going for £47 million, or Ivan Toney. Players like that are very good strikers, but I just think that we have been so ahead of the game in what this man can do in world football that it's okay for us in Canada to say, I think world football has missed the mark with this man. I think that he is criminally underrated. And okay, he's scoring goals in France. He didn't score against Aston Villa. But I'll say this one more time about Jonathan David. His work rate off the ball is absolutely sensational. As a modern-day defensive forward, wherever he will go, he will be better for it. And whether it's going to the Premier League or whether it's going to Serie A, wherever it be, he will be fine, and that club will be lucky to have him. So I just hope that the Premier League, if they do take him in, take care of him.
I'll take the bias out of it, just being a Canadian player. Watching him play outside of his work rate, he is so clever. I think he's built for the Premier League as well. Look, I'm not saying a top team, like you're going to Man City. He needs to go to a place where he can play. But he has it all. One-touch finishing with the right foot, his movement off the ball. His work rate for me is probably my favorite because you want a number 9 that is just going to be gritty and put their body on the line and press center backs. But I think he has it all. I think his next move, though, is so important. And where that is, only God knows.
Well, he scored again today against Strasbourg, by the way, in a 1-0 victory. He could also play in a 2 up top, and that's something that we talked about. I just wonder if some sides might start going back in that direction. I think that why last summer didn't happen and the complicated matter this summer is what's his valuation? What is he worth when financial fair play is taking such a big role in terms of every deal that's made? So which club is in that position to spend whatever dollar value that is that's going to be required to take care of his services?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what the answer to that question is.
No, look, there's a lot of clubs out there that need number 9s. So that's the other thing too, is that for me across the world football, we're seeing number 9s, struggling at different times, right? We're getting wide players score goals a lot as well. So look, his destination is very important, though, like Jordan says. We've got some players right now playing for the national team who are not playing enough minutes at the moment, for the next national team manager. We cannot have the elite players going to a club where you're only playing 1 out of 3. He needs to find a place to play, and I hope that this extra year in Lille has at least elevated him in the eyes of the scouts to say, play him, play him, play him. You've got to be patient and just play him.
Quickly, I don't know if it was Oliver Platt, the handsome Oliver Platt that said, but do we mind if Jonathan David stays at Lille, or he has to move this summer? Do you feel like that, KJ?
I think it's time, yeah.
Yeah?
I think the player prefers to move as well. I think that's the biggest factor. And I don't know what that destination will be, but there's no shortage of clubs that need a player like Jonathan David.
Yeah, he fits the bill, man.
The timing seems better now than it did before.
He's very special. And we have to also mention this quickly, is that people forget the ability for him to go to another area under a top-class coach and go to another level. We're not just like, I don't want to just see Jonathan David now and this be his peak and him to go somewhere else. And that's okay, that's fine. He's scoring 25, 26 goals a season. That's okay. But imagine getting to a top environment, expectations are that you win every week and you go to another level of club and another level of coaching. No disrespect to Fonseca and Lille. I mean, the sky is
really good coach.
The sky is the limit, though.
I think there's no coincidence that he's doing better under a better manager this year in Fonseca either. I think it's been key.
Just to put a bow on all of this, there's a lot of players playing for Canada right now, playing at the club level in Europe under top-class coaches. Yep. And back to your point, whoever's going to get that job with a presence needs to come in. They need to be able to control that room.
Christian Jack, professional broadcaster, bringing it Full circle.
No. You're the one who's hosting, my friend.
Another professional broadcaster, Andy Petrillo, co-hosts a little program we like to call One Nation.
I don't yell for that one, but I'm
Petrillo
excited
and
for that
Jordan
one as well.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Did you get a word in on that show?
Sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Mostly I hype up Andy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I do.
One soccer
Will do.
couple.
Yeah, that's power couple.
There you go.
One Nation,
That's the
Tuesdays
homie,
at
man.
7 p.m. We have Can Champ this week, but One Nation, they'll be there for you and I and Canadian soccer. The Canadian Championship look ahead is next here on Match Night.
Tony Bet.
At Tony Bet, get treated like a VIP. Bet on live games with odds on all sorts of sports. That's what you get when you bet with
Tony Bet.
Do we really have any choice at all? Everyone has a choice, and every choice has a consequence.
Which do you choose?
Life's full of tough choices, isn't it?
How do you choose?
Gatorade. With electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
We created Carlsberg 0-0 because even the best things can be better without goal-free beer. Clean one-handed backhand is better. Balancing stuff is better. Whatever this is, it's better. We created Carlsberg. Skipping your own ad is better. Parking in space, better. So, can the best alcohol-free beer make good things better? Probably.
Some ugly scenes here. That is as good a goal as you will see. A spectacular finish.
Degree 72-hour non-stop protection. Antiperspirant with motion sense. Tested to the limit. Degree. Keeps working when others stop.
Welcome to the final score presented by Tony Bet. Here is your Matchweek 2 results in the Canadian Premier League. 2 more home winners. By the way, 4 home winners in the Canadian Premier League last weekend. It took 24 games to have 4 home winners last season. Jeez. We have 6 through Matchweek 2. It took until June 3rd last season to reach that total. The final scores presented by Tony Bet. Here's a remember, you can win a $100,000 or a trip to the 2024 Canadian Premier League final by playing Tony Bet's Canadian Premier League Predictor. Visit predictor.canpl.ca for more info. We're looking ahead, and we don't have to look too far ahead because the TELUS Canadian Championships for 2024 are upon us. The fixtures get underway on Tuesday night. Cavalry Vancouver FC kicking us off, followed by Toronto FC and Simcoe County Rovers on Wednesday night at BMO Field in Toronto. The Vancouver Whitecaps, they have a bye through the first round of this competition. Vanni Sartini, very confident that his Vancouver Whitecaps can go on and complete the three-peat, winning this tournament 3 years in a row. There's been questions about other Canadian teams coming into the front and center in terms of competing as being Canada's best team. Here is Vanni Sartini trying to knock away the naysayers a few weeks ago when asked about challenges within this country.
I want to say it again because, we showed that we are the best Canadian team, and we've been the best Canadian team for the last 2-3 years. And we needed Unfortunately, I don't know why we need to remind it every time, but it's true. It's by far the truth, and I'm really happy that we did it again. So I hope that also it goes this to our Canadian media, to One Soccer or whatever, just to know it that we are the best and like deservedly so.
So here is the TELUS Canadian Championship bracket. Sartini on the Whitecaps, they are the best. I believe it's, quote, by far. Is he right?
He's right. He's right. This team has so much depth, quality. Also, the two-peat could potentially be a three-peat. They have the strongest team. Fafa, Picault, Krylat coming into the squad as well. I want to say that they're going to the final.
I'm watching them, and obviously the game was turned on its head with the sending off against the Sounders, but Sam Anakubi was excellent in that game. Him and Ali Ahmed, like, all of a sudden down the flanks, they have some real balance. They have an identity about this team where last season they maybe leaned on Gold and White a little bit too much, KJ. But I think there's some really good balance in this Whitecap side.
Yeah, I like the word balance as well. I'm with you. Look, sometimes you just know when you've got it, and they've got it right now. And I think they've recruited really well. He's right, they are night and day above anybody else in this country at the moment. They're overwhelming favourites. I think they should be the only MLS team who gets a bye, by the way, but that's another story. I'm not sure why you get a bye if you're reaching a final when two teams won national competitions within Canada could be getting a bye, but that's a different story. So for me, yeah, I think they should be big favourites to get this competition. And to be honest, out of the 3 MLS clubs over the last few years, they've taken it the most serious. Yeah. And so you get what you deserve, and that's why Manny Sartini has that great big tattoo of the Canadian Championship on his arm, and he's got 2 years written underneath it, and he'll be hoping to get another tattoo.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like this team is built to compete on multiple fronts as well. I think that the CONCACAF Champions Cup was a good learning experience for them again. They're growing into this role as prohibitive favorite, KJ. Sometimes when it's assumed that you might not be able to take advantage, but the fact that this competition is a said priority for this group, and they're built to go on and win it.
Yeah, look, we have different things this year, right? So we have a 2-legged quarterfinals, which will be interesting to see which way they go about it. And, and now we have the aforementioned Vancouver Football Club, who we just talked a lot in our big segment about the story of the week, with one opportunity on Tuesday night to challenge what you've just said, right? They want to play the Whitecaps, right? They want to play the Whitecaps, and they want to have a shot at them the way that they're playing right now.
So if it's unanimous, and it's hard to argue that the Whitecaps aren't the best in this country, who's the closest to them? Is it Montreal? Is it Toronto? Is it other Jordan Wilson?
I think it's CF Montreal. I think that the finals last year, Vancouver Whitecaps had CF Montreal's number in ways when I'm watching the match. I always felt as if the Whitecaps were going to come away victors. This season as well, CF Montreal, I'd have to put them at number 2. I could see a finals repeating itself from last season.
I just wish that, my hope is that the competition is treasured and taken seriously by Major League Soccer teams, and not just taken seriously the moment you lift the trophy and then suddenly you want to claim at the end of the season that you've won something. Vancouver haven't done that, and they deserve everything they can. But they need to take these more seriously, and ultimately we are seeing a trend in world football where this week we saw the FA Cup abolish replays. We've seen what Major League Soccer teams have done to the US Open Cup, and we need to treasure this revamped tournament that is now consistently getting better every year because of the inclusion of Canadian Premier League teams and League One teams. We need to take it to another level. So my hope is that eventually that these MLS teams will play stronger teams and give it their best, because you alluded to it, the 3 MLS teams, the money they spend, of course, favourites 1, 2 and 3. The way we saw Forge play today, and every single time you ask that club what their priority is this year, what comes out of their mouth? Canadian champion.
This year's competition, after the first round, home and aways in this competition. So home markets across this country get to experience this national competition. That's very exciting as well. And, hey, let's see who can take a step forward in this competition this season. The Canadian Premier League side's much more experienced now in playing this, and let's hope that they rise to the occasion. It all kicks off Cavalry and Vancouver FC on Tuesday night. We're going to be in studio covering each and every match right here on One Soccer. Coming up next week, match week 3 in the Canadian Premier League. Quick turnaround for Cavalry, of course, as well as Vancouver. Vancouver goes Tuesday, Friday. They travel out to York Lions Stadium to take on York United. Halifax home openers, they take on Atletico Ottawa. That's going to be a great fixture. And it's a doubleheader Saturday, Ford and Valor. Each and every game right here on One Soccer. So episode 2 in the books.
It's fun.
For match night. Think they're going to have us back for 3?
Always a pleasure to sit and talk
enjoyed myself
football with you
thoroughly.
fellas. Hopefully the fans enjoy it.
Yeah, I think they do. I think there's some real positive feedback. I genuinely think Canada loves us, or most of us. Another really good match week in the Canadian Premier League. Forge seemed to cut above this match week. They beat York United this Sunday. 3-0 was the final. On behalf of Jordan and KJ, I'm Wheels. This has been Match Night, and you've been watching One Soccer.
Yeah, I think we have to come into the game with a certain level of humility. They're obviously a massive club. They have very good players, and there's going to be spurts in the game where they're going to have the bulk of the possession. That's just the reality. We have to be brave. We have to go out and try and play, and we're not necessarily going to change too much of that in our style. We want to bring that and obviously impose ourselves on the matches as best we can.
No, I think you're always trying to be as prepared as possible. Each team brings a different challenge, but what you do is you pull off the experience